Hi again, everybody. It's Kevin Knesset coming to you live from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com on this, the 8th day of October in the year 2024. Sure hope you're enjoying your Tuesday, no matter where it is you are in the country. Here in the Northeast in Kearney, 66 degrees. Beautiful, beautiful weather out there. So hope you've had an opportunity to get out and enjoy a little bit of this weather, which of course is not the case in South Florida, where they're about to hit this hurricane Milton, which is supposed to be just absolutely remarkably dangerous. As you can see on the screen here, they're talking about it. It's a category 5 right now, and maybe it'll diminish to a 4 or 3 by the time it hits the Tampa St. Petersburg area. But my goodness, anybody who happens to be down there right now, if they are not leaving, they're really putting themselves at some great risk by not getting out of there. So, as Lisa said in the chat room, prayers for Florida, because they are going to need it. The mayor of St. Petersburg, the mayor of Tampa said, if you don't evacuate, you're going to die. It was that simple. I mean, I've never heard a mayor put it in terms of something like that for a hurricane before, but it's that serious. That's how dangerous this once in a century storm is going to be. So that's where it is. So anybody who is down in that area right now, who may even be watching us, please use caution, and hopefully you're out of there on your way somewhere more inland or north. They were saying that the traffic is just astronomical heading north and to get out of the Tampa area. So I can imagine how difficult that would be. But for people who are in the traffic, don't give up on it, because they're basically saying if you come back, you're going to be on your own and you're not going to make it. That's how dangerous this storm is forecast to be. So we'll see what happens tonight and then into tomorrow. But hopefully everybody we know is safe and sound indeed. So that's where that stands. And earlier this morning, I had an opportunity to go to this sign unveiling, which is right at the Belleville Turnpike and Passaic Avenue. And the sign that you see here is the welcome sign. It used to be very, very plain. And John O'Connor, who you see in the picture all the way to the left, basically said, you got to do something about this. We need to make the entranceway to Kearney much more attractive. So he got the okay, and he went ahead and he spoke with John Cali III of the Cali family, and they agreed to pay for the sign, and it was finally unveiled this morning about 10 o'clock. And you can see in the picture there's a whole bunch of members of the Cali family there, and Councilman Facito, along with John O'Connor, Councilwoman Mary Trine DeCastro, and her sister Lila DeCastro, and Mayor Carol Jean Doyle are there as well. So it was a very, very beautiful ceremony this morning, and it'll be a nice new greeting for the town when you're coming in. When you're getting off that Rutgers Street Bridge, the old sign was nice. It was certainly nice, but it was kind of blah. It's just happened to be there. But now it's there, and the Calais did indeed spend a good penny to make sure that this sign was made, and there it is. And it was finally unveiled this morning, and we thank the Calais family. They have been involved in this town for a countless number of years, and they have always been there. And John III was speaking this morning, and when he was talking, he kept talking about how his dad, God rest his soul, always enjoyed doing great things for the town, and how the town always, in its own way, gave back to him. And it's such the truth. His loss is still felt to this day, and his son John III is certainly picking up the legacy with the rest of the family. But just amazing, beautiful new sign. I hope you have a chance to see it at the entranceway to Kearney, right off the Rutgers Street Bridge, heading up to the Belleville Turnpike. You can see it there right now in the picture. But it is still, nonetheless, it was just a very nice gesture, and great job by John O'Connor getting this done too. John truly cares about the town of Kearney, and we're very, very grateful to him for spearheading this entire project as well. Now, what you're seeing on the screen is something that was sent in the mail over the weekend. This went out, I guess it was on Saturday, and maybe people were still getting it Monday, perhaps even today. And what you see here was basically, I guess it's a postcard size. It's the size of a postcard, and it says, "Carney forward. The silence from our third ward council candidates for this November's election makes it clear that we need an alternative. Your vote should not be taken for granted. You have an option. Make me your personal choice with a write-in vote at the bottom right of your ballot." And it is signed Renato da Silva, third ward councilman, your current third ward councilman. And I'm going to show you the other side of it too before I come back to this. This is what the second side of the card looks like. And it's a copy of the ballot. It's shrunk because you notice it goes from column A to column B to column I and all the way down in the bottom with an arrow down to where you would write in a candidate's name. Now, there's a couple of things that really stand out about this, and it's very, very scary. Number one, this quote-unquote campaign piece did not have any paid-for language on it. Whenever a candidate sends out something in the mail, no matter what it's for, it always has to say paid for by either the person who paid for it or the name of the committee or the party that is sending it out. This card had none of that at all. You can see it. And you know that there's a label covering that. There was nothing on the bottom of that. And there was no paid for language on this, which basically means that the mailer was illegal, number one, and should not have gone out without that. And a couple of questions that would pop up to me would be, who paid for this? Was it paid for by the candidate himself? Was it paid for by somebody else? I can say with unequivocation that this was not paid for by the party. The Democratic Party said that it did not pay for this. And I would also want to know if the party sanctioned something like this, because here's something you got to remember about this race. Renato da Silva was involved in the primary in June, a couple of months ago, and he lost to Fred Esteves. And so now in November, the election is Fred Esteves and George Santos, who are running against each other. Fred is the Democrat, George is the Republican. Renato, however, is not on the ballot, and he now claims, I might say wrongfully, that there's been silence from the third ward council candidates for this November's election. I'm not sure where he would get that idea from, but I know Fred has been working, and I know George has been working as well to get things prepared for the November election. So the utter arrogance to do something like this is pretty bold. It's pretty bodacious to go out there and to say that your vote shouldn't be taken for granted. Because these guys, as Melanie just said in the chat room, have been out walking the neighborhood of the third ward. And he's misstating the truth by saying that there's been silence from the third ward council candidates. That is just simply not true. Now, this may be because he doesn't go to council meetings all the time now. This may be because he doesn't show up to any town functions. I mean, when I say any, if he does come, it's for 5 minutes and he leaves. And this may be simply because he's not paying attention, or he's living he thinks this whole campaign is based on what he sees on social media. And if you base a candidacy or a race on what's on social media, folks, I'm telling you right now, you're not going to get the full accurate picture. So there are a lot of questions that need to be answered here. And I think most importantly was who paid for this and who's behind it. Because there is clearly something, I don't know what you'd call it, but this is not a typical ploy. And it's not going to do anything. It's not going to affect this election. We've seen it in this town when people try to wage write-in candidacies. It happened a couple of years ago when Larry Hanlon did it, and unfortunately, I think he only got like 18 votes. And it's the same thing that's going to happen in this election here, too. I mean, he lost the election with machines and with ballots in front of you. And he thinks he's going to be able to make some kind of headway here with a write-in choice? No, it's just not going to happen. But it just kind of blows my mind that this is even a thing right now. It really is. And what it also demonstrates to me is where I thought there might be a chance there could be some unity on the Democratic Party. There's none. There's none, because in a good political system where things run the way they're supposed to, when you lose a primary to somebody of your own party, you then go out and you endorse the guy who won the primary. But that is not happening here. He's basically saying, I'm still the better candidate, even though you, the people, chose the other guy. Just think about that arrogance, that utter arrogance of what that is. But this is what's happening in the town of Kearney right now. It has been going on for over a year. It is so trying. It's so taxing. It's so repetitive. And quite frankly, it's sickening is what it is. And I got to be honest with you. I cannot imagine that the chairman of the county Democratic Party, which I believe is Craig Guy, the county executive, would be all too happy about this. To know that another one of his members of his party is going out and pulling a stunt like this that's going to backfire like every other stunt they've pulled. Because that's what happens. Whenever they pull these stunts, this is not the first time. It won't be the last time. And every single time they pull stunts like these, they fail. And they fail very, very ridiculously. So I want you to keep that in mind, okay? That is what's going on right here. This is just I don't even know what else to say that I haven't already said, but it's not going to make a difference. They're not. I don't know. Maybe he thinks that by doing this, that it'll take away votes from Fred or take away votes from George, and that it'll uproot the end results in November. But it's not, because he's just. I mean, can you consider the guy's never been elected himself? That should just give you an example here. This is not going to have any factor in the election whatsoever in November, but this is where we are, folks, and this is what we deal with on a regular basis in this town, and it's a shame, because the people who are hurt the most by this are not the members of the town council, it's the residents, and enough is enough. This is just incredible. All right, let's switch over now just to a couple of things that are in this week's edition of the Observer. Many of you may know the vice principal of Harrison High School, Steve Lipsky, was a councilman in Jersey City for many years, and he decided to rally up the League of Women Voters, and he brought in the League, a group of volunteers from the League in the county, and they hosted a mock election last week at Harrison High School. Now, the mock election was not with any candidates. It was a way to show the kids the process for registering to vote and using a voting machine and things of that nature. And it was a really nice morning. I got a chance to go over there and meet some of the kids who were involved and chat with Steve and a few of the volunteers from the League of Women Voters. It was a nice day. It really was. And I know the League was trying to do it in other high schools in the vicinity, but none of them have heard back from anybody, and it's just unfortunate that maybe not that many towns are taking part in it, but the bottom line is they did a great job at Harrison High School, and I want to thank Steve Lipsky for inviting me over there and for allowing me to spend an hour or two over there at the high school. It was very enjoyable, a very nice experience that I really appreciated, and it's a really good thing to see the young people taking an interest in the election. And then there was a lot of talk going on about the November election, so things were moving over there, and it was a nice day for sure. The Township of Lyndhurst, Mayor Bob Giangiarusso had their car show this past weekend, and I want to thank our friend Laura Compton for taking the pictures and sending us information about that as well, as you can see right there. And next week, the town of Kearney, through the UEZ, will be having a special dedication for the Hometown Heroes banner program. This was something that Linda DeIsa wanted to start when she took over as the director of the UEZ a couple of months ago, and she initially set out to get 40 or 50 banners, and the total right now is 198. That's just an extraordinary measure. These banners are going to go up on Kearney Avenue and will stay up until Veterans Day. And then once Veterans Day is over, they'll come down but go back up again for Memorial Day next year. And for a certain amount of years, we'll use the same ones. And then people who want to buy new ones will be able to do that in the years coming. But there will be a ceremony Wednesday, 1 week from tomorrow, at Bicentennial Park, and another good move. Congratulations to Linda for pulling off what she thought was impossible, but I'm not surprised at all that she was able to get almost 200 veterans to participate, families to participate in the banner program. Just briefly here, as we get ready to sign off, this was pretty cool. The Hudson County Board of Commissioners approved the open space trust fund funding for the Kearney Recreation slash Multipurpose Center, the picture of which you can see there. And there were a couple of other projects that they approved as well. This was kind of a foregone conclusion, but they had to vote a couple of weeks ago. And because of it, all that funding that you read about a couple of months ago over the summer will come to fruition. And the good thing is that this will go to this incredibly worthwhile project that you see here and some of the other ones in West Hudson. So things are happening with the county for sure. And I just wanted to bring this to your attention. My dear friend Mike Perrone, who is the president, longtime president, and the founder of the Belleville Historical Society, wrote an op-ed this week that he did a couple of years ago about Christopher Columbus and how Columbus has been vilified unwarrantedly. So I hope you will take a chance and read that, especially since Columbus Day is upcoming and the timing for this was absolutely ideal. So thank you, Mike Perrone, for doing this. Please, if you get a chance, check it out in this week's edition of The Observer over on page number 6. This is coming up to Hazardous Household Waste Day on the 19th of October at the DPW, where you can bring household waste. You can see on this ad that you see on page number 7. Pick up the paper if you don't get a chance to read all of this now, and it says what you can and can't get rid of. That's the most important thing too. And this is a great service that the county does all over the place each and every year. So it really makes it very easy for residents to get rid of things that they normally wouldn't be able to. So please check this out as well. Now, keep in mind that Jason Bernstein has three sports stories this week, including the Athlete of the Week, who comes from North Arlington High School. And, of course, we have in Classifieds this week 2 pages of a lot of rentals this week. You'll notice that these first 6 columns are all rentals. So there's a lot of places to rent. If you need an apartment and have $1 million, you'll be able to get a place to live for rent. And, of course, there are jobs, opportunities, and services offered as well that you'll be able to reach in this week's Classifieds also. One last thing I wanted to mention, and this was about going back a little bit to the hurricane that we were talking about earlier in the broadcast. If you're down there, and it's very possible that somebody could be watching us from South Florida somewhere, and your cell phone service goes out, if the towers go out, and you don't have your Wi-Fi, so you can't make Wi-Fi calls, and you own an iPhone, a more modern iPhone, I think it's 16, 15, 14, and 13 that have this, but don't quote me on that. There are the capability of making a call via a satellite phone is available. And on the Observer's Facebook page today, you'll be able to find the directions on exactly how to make a satellite phone call. I'm going to show you real quick here. Just let me get this off the screen. It's very, very simple to do. It's probably not going to show right because of the light, but all you really got to do is swipe up from the control center here and then click on the cell thing, which is green, and when you click on it, satellite call becomes one of the choices. And you couldn't do anything with it right now because there is no need to use a satellite call. But if you're out of service and you don't have any other way to make a call, it becomes active. So we have those directions on how to make those calls if you are in Florida or in any of these storm zones. And also just keep it in mind too, if you're anywhere else ever, whenever you need to make a phone call, if you're at a service area, you can use the satellite service. But the directions on how to do that on certain iPhones is on our Facebook page. Check that out today. That's going to do it for this week's edition. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today. Don't forget, we'll be back a week from today. But of course, if any news breaks in between now and then, we will be right there with you. So, from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com, Kevin Canessa signing off for now. And we hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. Take care. Bye bye.